Wellness fees, kitchen staff appreciation charges may be hiding on your restaurant bill. So I thought this would be a pretty interesting thing to check out. Customers are increasingly fed up and it's just getting worse. You better check your restaurant bill more closely, otherwise, you might be unknowingly paying for a wellness fee or kitchen appreciation fee along with the tip. Restaurants across the US are implementing bizarre add ons which can shockingly tack an extra 20% onto a check, and that's before any gratuity. These practices are so rampant in LA that people are even making spreadsheets to warn diners. And while there, New York City tech worker Anna was blindsided to see a 5% wellness charge coming in at just over $15, plopped onto her already pricey meal at Trendy Motherwolf. The surcharge is added to all checks in support of health benefits for our staff, but it is not a fee for service according to the restaurant's menu. Now, I pulled up their menu from their website. Now, this is what's kind of like interesting, right? So, if you look right here, 5% wellness fee is added to all checks in support of health benefits for our staff, but it is not a fee for service. If you would like this removed, like this fee removed, please let us know. So, what they're doing, right? They're doing this to customers who might be already boozed up, right? Meaning they're not paying attention and they're just adding this automatically to every single bill, which to me is like a very scumbag thing to do, to just automatically do that, right? It's like, what are you doing? Like, you shouldn't be doing that. You could potentially just put like a little checkbox options like, oh yeah, I'm willing to do another 5% to help out with your workers or whatever. If someone chooses to do so, okay. You automatically doing that? Not okay. Now, this is also the weird thing too, because it's like, are they even required to pay for their own workers' health insurance when their workers are like tip employees, right? Because I don't think they are required to pay health costs or health services to their employees if they're tip workers. I might be completely wrong. I know it like differs between like state to state. Is like the whole like tip worker like federal employment like minimum kind of stuff, right? Like the pay minimum is super weird too per state. Like one state is like under $2 I think, but like then another state is like they'll bring it up to like $8 on top of the federal like minimum. Because I think the federal minimum is like super low. I think the federal minimum is technically under $3, but the state has the choice to bump it up to 6, 7, 8, or whatever. It's a really weird thing. Let's see, that's some ridiculous fee. I'm not really sure why customers are paying for that. She told the Post of her recent sticker shock, which was the same cost as her dessert, a ritzy olive oil plum cake. It seems this new super weapon is blasting wallets nationwide in a post COVID world where consumers are getting hit with so many add ons. President Biden has even stepped in to declare war on so called junk fees. Yeah, so if you see it right here, it says wellness charge 5%. Which to me, like, I just don't think it's like, it doesn't even make sense, too, for like a wellness charge to be literally a percentage of the bill. Like, that doesn't even make any sense for that to be the case. It's just kind of crazy because it's not like the food and drinks are cheaper, and we're still paying for employees' benefits. She ranted. Not until the next day did someone point out to her that such add ons are optional, though you must ask them to be removed, which is noted on Motherswell's menu and receipts, according to a representative for the chef Evan Funk. You have to be a private investigator these days just to order food. She continued, adding that there's also social pressure not to call attention to a higher than expected bill in a public high end setting like Motherwell. Not gonna lie, if I was in like a private, well, I mean like a public high end setting, like some sort of like restaurant, which one I probably wouldn't because I don't like spending money on useless junk. But I'd be like, yo, what the hell is this charge? Why are you just automatically charging me this without even letting me know off the bat? Like this is just like a scummy thing to do. Like I just never understand why like companies do this. It's like you start to ruin your reputation as like a company by doing something like this, where you're just automatically charging people more money without bringing it to their attention. Like it'd be one thing to be like, "Hey, we're offering this service for our employees. Could you check it if you want to contribute to that?" Because we're adding some sort of health services for employees, which costs a little bit more money. We're going to take care of our employees even more so. If you check on it, all of that money will go straight to that. You could do something like that, but it's just like, again, still a percentage of the bill is insane to me. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like it would make more sense for there to be like a check mark box to be like, hey, I'm willing to contribute $1. I'm willing to contribute $2, etc. Right? Not like a percentage of the total bill, because that is just beyond insane to me. Like I'm pretty certain other people have gone to like some sort of like restaurant. It's like, oh, do you want to donate like $1 to like some sort of hospital or whatever? Like some people will, some people won't. But you're given the option right off the bat when you're about to pay, right? Which is a much better way to go about it than automatically just making it so that people are already paying for it without even realizing that they're paying for it, right? Like imagine I were to like have a business and say like, "Hey, I am automatically going to charge an extra percentage of whatever I'm selling for my Lamborghini fund." But you don't know that I'm doing that until after you pay. But you could have just like knocked it off and not be paying for that, right? It just doesn't. It's just such a dick thing to do. Like I don't know. It's just so sad what some of these companies are willing to do. And the thing is, they probably made crazy amounts of money from doing this, and we don't even know for sure if all that money's actually going to the health costs for the employees, the health services. So in the Big Apple, specific code regulations do not allow for wellness or kitchen appreciation charges, at least for now. However, CNBC writer Monica Petrelli recently complained that a New York City hotel had charged her numerous destination fees, including three ringing in at $35 each. And when she tweeted about those junk fees, an anonymous commenter described getting a kitchen staff appreciation fee at an unnamed New York City restaurant, deeming this ridiculous. Elsewhere in the tri-state area and beyond, fees are piling up. Tabla, an Italian restaurant in the Catskills village of Taynersville, supplements each bill with a substantial 10% living wage charge. Like, how freaking absurd is this, right? Like, what is the point of doing this? At that point, get rid of tip employees and just pay people a full-time like income if you're going to do something so ridiculous like this. This fee creates a more sustainable and equitable guaranteed pay rate for all employees, according to a footnote on the menu. And the reason why they're probably doing that is because you got high performers who are probably making really good money, and then you got really crappy employees that are basically barely doing the bare minimum, not getting tipped basically at all because their service is garbage, but the company wants to make sure that that person is taken care of even though they do really bad at their job, kind of thing. Owner David Schneider did not immediately respond to requests for comment from the Post. In New Jersey's seaside Asbury Park, popular pizza purveyor Tallulah's tacked on its own 3.5% kitchen appreciation fee last year to combat higher costs for ingredients like tomatoes, cheese, oil, and meats, according to NewJersey.com. Like, what the hell? That is so beyond dumb. Like, if the food costs cost more, what you do is you bump up the price of the actual product, not add some like weird fee. But of course, they're not going to do that. Why? Because a percentage of the bill is going to definitely be way more long term in terms of like how much money they're able to pull from it than just a simple $1, $2 bump into the price point of a bill, like of a food item, right? Like for example, If you got like a $25 meal, like maybe the hard cost for all that kind of stuff, maybe is like $5, $10 kind of stuff, and then you like bump it up by like $1 to cover the increased inflation costs of these raw ingredients. It's it's not going to bring in that much money, right? It'll cover the cost, but it won't bring in that much money. But if you do like a 3.5% appreciation fee, well, now all the other items that the person buys that might not have even been touched by inflation is going to be tacked onto it. So now the total money that you brought in from that 3.5% is going to be way higher than just a slight bump in the ticket price of the per item ingredient. So again, it's a very scumbag way to go about it. Like I really like this is also one of the like main reasons why I don't really like to eat at like these restaurants. Is because one, you don't know where any of this money is actually going to go, like in terms of like tipping and all that kind of stuff, right? Because some restaurants go by like, oh, people share tips. So imagine you have like a waiter or a waitress that is super, right? They go above and beyond, and you tip them a really good amount of money for a tip, but they don't actually get the full amount because the restaurant basically splits it to everyone that was working that shift, right? Everyone. Like, that's not cool, right? This person earned that tip, and now you're going to like take their money and spread it to other people. That's like a disgusting thing to do. And I've seen that plenty of times to where like it just like rubs you the wrong way enough to where like I really don't feel comfortable like contributing to something like that. It's like, Lord. And farther north in Cambridge, Massachusetts, a restaurant called Vincent's upped the ante with their fair wage surcharge, going to a staggering 20%. Again, if you're trying to justify charging a like 20% fee to bump up the people's fair wage, how about you actually just pay them a full-time income? You're not forced to pay tip workers, like to hire tip workers in a restaurant setting. You're not forced to do that. You could just hire people as a full-time employee where they don't get tips. You could do that. Every restaurant can do that. So there's no reason for them to have this surcharge. The only reason why they're doing that is because they want people to pay even more money so that the business can just make more and more money. Like if you're a business and you know you can make an extra 20% per person that you are bringing in, like per customer that you're bringing in, and you don't really gotta do anything for that, yeah, most businesses are going to do that because of how easy it is. Man. Two other Massachusetts restaurants adopted the same model in 2015, well before COVID, foreshadowing the current trend. We think that within 5 years, the majority of restaurants will have adopted some measure to address this critical issue. The bosses of Tres Cotos and Casa Verde in Jamaica Plain predicted in an open letter at the time. They clearly weren't far off. Romain Turpot, who owns high-end Connecticut eateries including Union League Cafe near Yale University in New Haven, instituted a more modest 4% kitchen appreciation program charge early during COVID. Every couple of months, we will have a guest that wants to speak to a manager to understand why we do that instead of increasing our prices, he told the Post of his 30-year-old establishment. To me, at the end of the day, it's actually exactly the same thing, only we show why the price has actually increased. Turpal, like many restaurateurs, already had to adjust the price of dishes, especially those with chicken and beef, to combat egregious inflation since the pandemic. He added that qualified and experienced kitchen staff has also been tough to come by since 2020. But throwing a kitchen fee on top of all that would seem tasteless, the chef added. Still, he said the 4% protocol is being fairly well received thanks to such transparency. We make it very clear on our menu is actually at the top, he told the Post, adding that he believes customer awareness is important. See, this is the thing that I respect way more than that like Mother Wolf thing, Mother Wolf LA, because what the Mother Wolf LA did is such a scumbag thing to do, where they automatically put it onto every single bill, and you got to specifically request for it to be taken off. And instead of this one, where they're saying it's literally at the top of the menu, where people just see it clearly as to what is going to happen if you were to order, kind of thing. That is a way better thing because it's like right there that you see, like, oh, this is what they're trying to do. At least they're honest about what they're trying to do. The Mother Wolf LA thing is just like a scumbag way to go about it. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to like charge you 5%, but you don't even know that you're getting charged an extra 5% because, yeah, we don't want you to know. Like, it's such a disgusting business practice. Lord. See, increasingly, restaurants in the Philly area are surcharging patrons who pay with plastic. The only workaround is cash or a prepaid gift card. Actually, my workarounds are choosing another restaurant or cooking at home. Oh my god. Like, so a personal story. I went to a restaurant with my dad years ago. And so we go there and like we sit down, we eat, etc. And then it comes to the bill, but then they're like, "Oh, we don't accept any form of card at all." Right? And there was like no information within that restaurant saying that they only accepted cash or check. Like those are the only forms of payment that they accepted, right? And so at that time I only had a couple bucks in my wallet. My dad only had a couple bucks in his wallet. We're like, what the hell are we gonna do? It's like they didn't even like let us know. So basically what had to happen, I had to stay in there and like basically be like almost collateral when my dad went to like a nearby ATM from like some sort of grocery store to pay for it. So like that type of business practice is scumbaggery, right? Because they were doing it to save money off of the charges of the credit cards and debit cards, like the 3%, 2% that like Visa, MasterCard, American Express, all that kind of stuff companies do, which I understand, but they didn't make it clear to begin with. There wasn't a sign that's saying like, "Oh, by the way, we only accept cash and check." There was no sign anywhere. There was nothing on the menu anywhere, right? And like we didn't think anything of it because the place was packed. So like the food was good, but it's still like a scumbag thing to do to not make this sort of business practice clear. Like if you have some sort of unique thing going on in terms of payment, you need to make it very clear and upfront like to the customer so that you could have repeat customers because they don't feel like they're getting screwed. And by the way, we never went back to that place ever again. Ever. Because what they did is such a scumbag thing to do. Like it's almost like say I were to sell a product and let's say that it costs like I don't know like $100. But then after everything's said and done, you're actually paying like $200 because I didn't let you know that there was like other fees. It's like it's a scumbag thing to do. I would have just say like, oh no, it's actually going to cost you $200, not $100 plus fee plus fee plus fee. The total amount is going to be $200, right? Like there's a point of just being like respectful to your customer, and like none of these restaurants are being respectful except for that very last one where they made it clear what they were trying to do. Let's see. Fine, but if I see any of that on the bill, the tip will be $0, and I usually tip 20%. Ensuring a living wage for the employees is the responsibility of ownership. If they care so much about their employees having a living wage, then they need to take it out of their profits and do with less. Not beat the customers over the head with ridiculous fees. I get that a restaurant is a tight margin business, but hey, if that poses a problem, then they should have chosen a more lucrative line of work. See, I once asked someone I thought who had talent beyond being a waitress at the local breakfast shop why. It was because she liked it, the people, the boss, the pay was okay, and she had flexibility. That was needed for her kids. She was not advocating for additional or any benefits because the job fulfilled her needs perfectly. If people don't like jobs for whatever reason, find another job. Don't force that employer to adapt to their demands. It kills jobs. And here's the thing that like I think a lot of people don't actually understand is that in some restaurants, not all, not most, but in some restaurants, depending on the customer base, depending on the traffic, some of these waiters and waitresses can make more money per year than doctors, right? Like, think about that for a second. Some of them can make more money than doctors, than lawyers, than like very like high certified, high licensed individuals. And the reason for it is because a lot of people who like tend to tip the same person every time they go there, and that person might go there every single day. So you're talking about like regular customers of a specific waiter or waitress who like a lot of their clients can just like their customers clients whatever could just be basically bankrolling them good amount of money every single day, right? And it's typically all cash too, so who knows if they're actually reporting it or not. Because I've seen so many videos of waitresses specifically. I mean, some waiters get this too, but mainly it's like waitresses because the personality. You got older guys who just want to talk to a pretty lady and all that kind of stuff, right? Some of those girls will literally have like 400, 500 bucks in just straight up cash being a waitress for that one day, right? And it might just be like on a Friday, busy night, or on a Saturday, busy night, right? Meaning they could have so much other free time doing other stuff, studying, etc., go to school, do whatever they want, and just do that part time. The flexibility. It's just, I just don't think people really understand just how much money is actually in this type of business or into this job. Hmm. I subtracted from the tip, easy fix. Is a scam. A restaurant doesn't want to increase menu prices because people compare restaurant prices. So instead, they tack on fees at the end. This should be illegal. I'm glad I don't like wine. That first item is three 6-ounce glasses of some wine. $60 per glass equals $180. Yeah, like that is crazy to me. I've only drank alcohol once, and it was wine, and I was like, why on earth do people like to drink this cardboard garbage, right? And like, why do people like to spend crazy amounts of money on this garbage? Like to me, I've just like never understood it, right? I was like, I would rather buy like a cake than drink this. I would rather like gorge myself on the most disgusting food possible than drink this. It's just like, and it just costs so much. I never understood how people could justify spending so much money on like things that you just drink. They ask for a tip even for takeout. Personally, when I walk in the door, I ask if there are any credit card or any other fees. If they say yes, I say good night. Hey, that's not a bad way. I think I went to a Little Caesars pizza where like you just go in there and like grab like a $5 pizza box that's already made, and they tried to get me to tip like 20%. I'm like, for what? Like I came and walked in here to grab a pizza, and you guys are going to try to get me to tip 20% for what? Like literally for what? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. Either way, I just thought this was kind of interesting. Be very careful where you end up going out to eat or whatever, because this is how you could end up spending like crazy amounts of money on your like food bills. Like this is why it gets to the point where like some people who might be making like a really good income might not know where their money's going and end up basically be living paycheck to paycheck. This is how you get to a situation where you might be making like 70K a year, 100K a year, but you're still living paycheck to paycheck because going out, eating out, all these added fees are just adding up to the point where you are not having any money.